should the United States annex, the word annex means to take control of the Philippines. So I'm going to read this excerpt. I'm going to read this context here, get an idea where we're at. We'll review a little bit of 54, and so everyone understands what we're driving at today. That's the question we're trying to answer today. So obviously, you're either going to look to say yes, they should have, or no, they should not have. All right? At the end of the Spanish-American War in 1898, the United States annexed or took control of the Philippines. The Spanish had ruled the Philippines for 3 centuries. The Treaty of Paris ended the 4-month war against Spain and the United States, and the Philippines became a U.S. territory. President William McKinley was conflicted about the annexation, but feared the consequences if the islands fell to German, Japanese, British, or French control. Viewed as an act of imperialism, many opposed the U.S. annexation of the Philippines, and there was a rebellion that lasted into 1902 until it was finally subdued by American forces. The period of 1898 to 1902 saw many casualties on both sides, and there were atrocities carried out against the Philippine people. All right, so that's the context. So going back to 54, we talked about the Spanish-American War. The United States comes on the side of the Cuban people to throw off their colonial rulers, the Spanish. As a result of that war, the United States kind of gives Cuba its own independence, but it also, the United States also accumulates territory, Guam, the Philippines, and Puerto Rico. The Philippines are an archipelago, a chain of islands in Asia. Makes it very easy for the United States to use it as a port so that they can get to Asia and all the markets to sell American goods in, especially China. So the Philippines are kind of an important spot on the globe at this time for U.S. trade. So there's a debate in the country. Should we annex it? Should we take control of the Philippines? Or should we let the Filipino people rule themselves? So that's where we're at. Should we take control, or should we allow the Filipinos to govern themselves? So what we're going to do is you guys are going to look at a set of documents, and you're going to complete this chart, right? So you're going to use the documents that follow to determine the arguments for and against the annexation of the Philippines. On the right-hand side, you're going to draw and complete the chart below. So we have this chart. On the left-hand side are all the arguments for annexation of the Philippines. On the right-hand side are arguments against the annexation of the Philippines. So as you go through the documents, you're looking for arguments, either for or against, and you'll list them in the chart. And then you're going to make a determination whether or not you believe the United States should have or should not have annexed the Philippines. So I encourage you guys, get together, talk to one another, work on this together. If we were going to do this in class, it might have been a gallery walk or maybe something on the whiteboards. But since we're not in class, we got to figure something else out. So talk to each other, get on apps and start discussing the documents and help each other out. Don't do it on your own if you can find some help. Okay, so we're going to move on to the first document. So the first document is one we've looked at already, right? We looked at this in lesson 55. All right, so what the United States has fought for is the title of this document, and the upper half, the top half of it, is before the United States intervened in behalf of these oppressed people. So this is what life was like in these areas, all right, before the United States intervened on their behalf. And then on the bottom here is after the United States had rescued them from their oppression. So even that key word right there, rescued, right? We're saying this is an argument, obviously, in support of the of the annexation of the Philippines. Because look at what we're doing. We're going to bring prosperity, education, right? Education here, sanitation. Those are arguments for us annexing the Philippines. Remember, think about details. Think about what we're asking you to do. We're trying to focus in on one area, right? One part of this, and that is, what are the arguments for us to take control of the Philippines, and what are the arguments against it? All right. So now we're going to move on to, moving on to the next document. There's another document that we've spent some time looking at yesterday, or when you did lesson 55. Now, I'm not going to help you that much on this. We've been through this one a few times. Make sure you take all the details into account. And I want you to think, is this document making an argument for the annexation or against? Write down what argument is being made here, all right? Whether it's for or against, and put it on your chart. We looked at this one as well, all right? This is one we want to think about a little bit, okay? It might not be right away apparent what the argument is, so let's take a look at the details in this one. it says on the bottom here, and it's hard to see right now, but it says, and after all, the Philippines are only the stepping stone to China. And that's what we talked about earlier, right? So here's the Philippines here at the bottom of Uncle Sam's foot, okay? And now the United States is in control of that area. And he's stepping from the USA onto the Philippines, and the next step is going to be to China. And think about all the things that are here that we might be able to sell to the Chinese, right? They want this, they want that, and so on. And we're bringing a whole bunch of things. So is this arguing for us acquiring the Philippines or not? Annexation of the Philippines or not? Should we take control of the region, or should we let the Filipinos control it themselves? Write that argument down that you found either for or against on your chart. All right, now we have some textual evidence we have to look at. All right, and remember, you're still doing the same thing. You're just looking for an argument for or against. So when you're reading, read with a purpose, right? Read with a purpose. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this together. I'll highlight what I would highlight or underline, and then you guys will make your decisions of which side of the chart it should go on. All right, so we hold that the policy known as imperialism is hostile to liberty and tends toward militarism, an evil from which it has been our glory to be free. So when we take control of an area, right, that's called imperialism. So this platform of the Anti-Imperialist League is saying that when we do a policy of imperialism, it's hostile to liberty. All right? And it tends towards militarism. I don't know why this isn't working. There we go. And it's an evil. All right? From which it has been our glory to be free. We regret that it has become necessary in the land of Washington and Lincoln to reaffirm that all men of whatever race or color are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We maintain that governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed. We insist that the subjugation of any people is criminal aggression and open disloyalty to the distinctive principles of our government. So these ideas here, all right, that we're talking about in this section here, and hold on, let me just change this up a little bit. Oops, I'm going to do that. And go here. When they write this, they're talking here life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and consent of the governed. That's right out of the Declaration of Independence, guys. Right? So they're saying, hey, this is what our founding principles were. This is what we're supposed to believe in. And then they said, all right, if we're not going to do that, if we're not going to do that, we're subjugating these people, meaning we're controlling them. All right? And if we're going to subjugate them, that's criminal. That's a criminal aggression. And it's openly disloyal to our principles. Our principles are ones of allowing people to have their own government, allowing people to have liberty, and pursue their own happiness. And we're not doing that if we're going to take control of the annex of the Philippines. So this document is obviously a document that and these arguments in this document are obviously arguments opposed to us taking control of the Philippines. So make sure you put that on the right-hand side of your chart. All right, document 5 now. Now I claim that under the Declaration of Independence, you cannot govern a foreign territory or foreign people, another people, than your own. That you cannot subjugate them and govern them against their will because you think it is for their good when they do not, because you think you are going to give them the blessings of liberty. You have no right at the cannon's mouth to impose on an unwilling people your Declaration of Independence and your Constitution and your notions of freedom and notions of what is good. So I'm going to let you guys work on this one. All right? This one's a little bit more straightforward. Remember, the word subjugate means to control someone. And whether or not Senator George Hoare is opposing it or is he for this annexation. And then write that argument in your chart. All right, this one we're going to go over a little bit because it's a little bit more detailed and I want to spend a little bit more time on it. All right. And this is from an interview with President William McKinley. All right, that's the source line. So I want to make sure that we know where we're getting this from. And then what we're going to do is we're going to read this and highlight and underline. and talk a little bit about it. So it's McKinley, the president at the time, and he's making this decision, right? He's going to decide on whether or not we should leave the Filipinos to the Filipinos, let them be free, or is he going to make sure the United States grabs a hold of their country and rules over them. All right, so this is his personal interview. All right, remember now, this is McKinley. When next I realized that the Philippines had dropped into our laps, I confess I did not know what to do with them. I sought counsel from all sides, Democrats as well as Republicans, but got little help. I thought first we would take only Manila, then Luzon, then other islands perhaps. Also, I walked the floor of the White House night after night until midnight, and I am not ashamed to tell you, gentlemen, that I went down on my knees and prayed to Almighty God for light and guidance more than one night. And one night, late, it came to me this way. I don't know how it was, but it came. That we could not give them back to Spain. That would be cowardly and dishonorable. So his first argument of why we need to annex the Philippines is this one. We can't give them back. We just fought the Spanish for their freedom. We can't give them back to Spain. That would be dishonorable and cowardly. So he's already making an argument of why we should annex the Philippines. The second one, that we could not turn them over to France or Germany, our commercial rivals in the Orient. That would be bad business and discreditable. So another choice is we can't give them to other countries because that's bad for business. All right? That we could not leave them to themselves. They were unfit for self-government, and they would soon have anarchy and misrule worse than Spain was. So another argument he's making is this idea that they can't rule themselves. That there was nothing left for us to do but to take them all and to educate the Filipinos and uplift and civilize and Christianize them by God's grace, do the very best we could by them as our fellow man for whom Christ also died. So right here, I mean, this whole thing here, this whole number 4 is important arguments, right? Because what he's saying is we have no real choice. If we're going to be good Christians, we need to educate them, we need to uplift them, and we need to civilize, and we need to Christianize them. All right, so these are the reasons why we should annex the Philippines. And then I went to bed and went to sleep and slept soundly. And the next morning I sent for the chief engineer of the War Department, our map maker, and I told him to put the Philippines on the map of the United States, pointing to a large map on the wall of his office. And there they are, and there they will stay while I am president. All right, so you have a bunch of arguments just from this one document. And obviously this is going to go on the left-hand side of your chart because it's arguments in support of the annexation of the Philippines. All right, so we're done with the documents. Again, this probably would have been a gallery walk, and I guess you can't really gallery walk at your house. So maybe move around a little bit, do something. All right, so all right, we're at the point where you guys love it, right? The left-hand side. So should the United States annex the Philippines? You have your arguments. You got to make a decision now, right? So you're going to make a claim. It's either going to be should or should not. So your first sentence is going to be the United States should not annex the Philippines, and these are the reasons why. Or the United States should annex the Philippines. Okay? Your reasoning, the why, the because, you're going to explain, and you're going to use textual details from the documents. There are 6 documents. There's a couple cartoons. Whatever it is, you have to use details from the documents. So you can do it one of 2 ways. I wrote and, but it really should be or. Please send a photo of your right-hand side chart. Oh, I'm sorry. There has to be both. I'm sorry. You have to do both. Please send a photo of your right-hand side chart completed and an email your response to the left-hand side to either myself or Ms. Greenberg. All right? So what you're going to do is you're going to take a picture of your right-hand side because I want to make sure that people are doing the charts, and then you're going to email your response to the left-hand side. So you can put the photo and the response in the same email, or you can send the photo to me through the Remind, whatever it is you want to do, but make sure both things are handed in. This is why you have 2 days for this, okay? You're going to send a photo of your right-hand side and an email with your response to the left-hand side.